The QuickTime MOV file format is a popular export option with many different video editing products. And in those video editing products, you usually have many export options, all kinds of compression schemes. But that's not the case inside Photoshop. If you choose to export using QuickTime, you have only a handful of options, and almost all of them produce huge files. So in most cases in Photoshop, QuickTime is not a viable option, but I do want to show it to you. So to follow along, go to Working Files, open up Photoshop PSD files, and then open up 0803 Export MOV. I created this project to give you a few video shooting and editing tips here, so let's just see how this works. A little stroll through the garden here. Young lady coming around the corner, walking her dog. And as she comes on camera, I pull back a little bit here to reveal not only the garden, but to keep her framed up nicely. Eventually, she's going to walk out of the frame there, and once she does that, we make an edit. We dissolve to this point of view shot here as if she's walking along looking at these flowers. And then dissolving into some static shots here of the flowers in the garden. Very nice spring day here. All right. And then finally we go back to this last shot, which is a reveal as well. It looks like we're looking at flowers, but we're going to tilt up here and watch her finish up her walk through the garden. There we go. All right, there's just a little stroll through the garden. All right, now I want to export this as a QuickTime MOV file. So I go File, Export, go to Render Video, and the first thing I need to do is I want to give it a name and a folder location. So I need to change the format from H.264 to QuickTime. That changes the extension there to MOV. And then we select the folder. And I've already exported this project 4 times, but I think you know how to do this. You just select the folder that you want to put it in. We're working with the Adobe Media Encoder. We've got QuickTime format, but now we need to choose a preset. And look at how many presets there are. 5. Not very many when you work with QuickTime. If this were H.264, for example, like that, then you'd see many, many more presets. So let's just go back to QuickTime. Let's just take a look at these guys. Animation high quality, animation medium quality make monstrous files, 60 times larger than H.264. JPEG high quality and medium quality are smaller, quite a bit smaller, but take a long time to render. Then finally, uncompressed is basically the same size as animation high quality. The advantage of uncompressed, though, is that it's the original quality of your video. Nothing has changed. So uncompressed can be archival, or you can use the exported file in another video editing product. I'm just going to choose animation high quality just to have that selected here. You choose the size, which is the resolution. I've got the document size here, which is the original size of this high definition video, which is 1920 by 1080. We're running it at the original frame rate, which is 2997. And now you have a choice with field order, as opposed to working with H.264 set to 1080p. Here you can choose whether you want it to be progressive or whether you want it to be interlaced. Progressive really is the best way to go. And the aspect ratio, again, is set to 1, set to square pixels. You could change that, but it doesn't make much sense in this case because we've got HD here, so we're sticking with HD. Color manage is fine. Export some range or the entire file. And now we go down to render options. You have the choice with QuickTime, and this is an advantage of QuickTime, of having transparency. And you just choose the type of transparency you want to have, whether it's going to be straight or pre-multiplied. And then again, you got a 3D quality setting here if you're working with 3D, which we're not in this case. So now that we've made these choices, the next option would be to click Render, but I'm not going to do that now because I've already done that several times so I can show you what happens. So I'm going to cancel out of this and show you those files. I've got those files here inside my Photoshop exercise files folder. Just open that up. Let's take a look at these guys. These are the 4 right there. This is the one I did for the previous exercise. Those are the 4, and notice we've got the high quality animation, the medium quality animation, JPEG medium, and uncompressed. Uncompressed is 11 gigabytes for 45 seconds. 45 seconds is half the length of this one up here. This is 11 gigabytes, and H.264 is 350 megabytes. A huge difference. Uncompressed is basically 60 times larger than H.264. Monstrous files. And even for animation set at the medium quality setting, which is virtually the same as high quality in terms of file size, this is 10 gigabytes, 9 gigabytes. Monstrous files. And these guys have a hard time playing back. They're so big that they have a rough time playing back on most systems. So you're doing this in HD if you want to archive it or edit it again later. The one relatively small file size is exporting it to JPEG MOV files. And so you see that for this 45-second thing, it's still 2 gigabytes, almost 2 gigabytes. So still much, much larger than H.264. And the thing is, again, playback on these guys is pretty tough on most machines. So why export to QuickTime then? You can make a 3D project. It doesn't have to be full HD. It could be a much smaller format. And then it can also have transparency. So the advantage then is that you can export it with QuickTime. It retains its full resolution and also has transparency, and then you can use that in some other project, let's say inside Premiere Pro or After Effects. So that would be the little advantage here. Otherwise, I don't see much of an advantage to exporting to QuickTime. I think you can stick with H.264. It's a much more universally acceptable file format. So there you go. That's how you export projects using the QuickTime format.